What happens when a duchess swaps palace protocol for Hollywood deadlines and the cameras catch her cutting corners? Back in 2020, Meghan Markle inked a splashy, reportedly $100 million pact with Netflix, promising glossy lifestyle series and feel-good empowerment that would rebrand her far from Buckingham's glare. 5 years later, that dream deal is spinning out like a rogue food processor, and executives in Los Gatos are desperately slapping on the lid before the contents hit the walls. Insiders whisper that with Love, Meghan, once billed as a honey-soaked mix of wellness tips and California sunshine, has triggered an unprecedented internal probe after a cooking competition segment looked suspiciously like a vintage episode of Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. The fallout, emergency conference calls, lawyers poring over footage frame by frame, and frantic reshoots that force Meghan to improvise on camera with zero script and even less goodwill from her crew. For Netflix, already nursing subscriber gripes over price hikes and canceled favorites, the stakes couldn't be higher. One more headline about royal plagiarism and the platform risks a full-scale viewer revolt. So buckle up, because the story behind Meghan's streaming fiasco is packed with secret memos, furious chefs, and a contract on the brink of collapse, and what happens next could rewrite the rules of celebrity power in the binge-watch era. The contract itself read like a fairy tale coronation. In September 2020, Netflix announced a multi-year partnership with Archewell Productions, front-paging the Sussexes alongside marquee signings like the Obamas, and promising content that informs, elevates, and inspires. Industry chatter put the price tag at up to $100 million, an eye-watering sum that signaled Netflix's faith in Meghan's star power and her knack for driving headlines. For Meghan, the deal wasn't just lucrative, it was a long-awaited rebrand. No more palace-imposed protocol. Instead, she would craft glossy series about wellness, resilience, and modern womanhood. Projects she controlled from pitch to premiere. Netflix's Ted Sarandos even called her wildly underestimated, insisting that viewers were hungry for her point of view. Within months, internal decks hyped with Love, Meghan as the crown jewel, an intimate blend of California sunshine, charity spotlights, and kitchen table authenticity. Early focus groups loved the concept. Marketing teams sketched billboard mock-ups, and a rollout timed for peak holiday traffic. On paper, Meghan's next act looked unstoppable. But Hollywood dreams can curdle fast. As cameras rolled and budgets ballooned, a single note began to surface in production meetings: something feels off. And the whisper would soon erupt into a plagiarism firestorm that no amount of royal polish could contain. It all sounded harmless enough at first. With Love, Meghan promised sun-drenched kitchens, mindful living tips, and the kind of feel-good glow that advertisers dream about. Early trailers showed her whisking vinaigrettes beside rescued shelter dogs, beaming as she told contestants to cook with heart, not ego. Viewers clicked, but halfway through episode 1, a different flavor started creeping in. The pacing felt strangely aggressive, the challenges oddly overproduced, and the critiques, well, they didn't sound like Meghan at all. Comment sections filled with viewers calling the vibe queasy and weirdly intense, like someone had spliced a wellness vlog with a high-stakes reality showdown. Behind the scenes, producers swapped uneasy glances, certain camera angles, certain chef face-offs, déjà vu, but no one could place it just yet. Editors flagged a few moments for review, noting how the dramatic pauses landed exactly where they'd heard them before. One assistant joked that it felt like Hell's Kitchen wearing a pastel filter. Laughter died fast when they realized the comparison wasn't far off. The more footage they trimmed, the more familiar the beats became, until someone finally pulled up Gordon Ramsay's first season for a side-by-side check. By dawn, the joke had turned into a crisis memo. And that was only the first spark, because once you spot one copied frame, you can't unsee the rest. The smoking gun was a 7-minute showdown inside a rental kitchen. Two teams plating scallops, Meghan circling like a judge in designer sneakers. Then the line that sent a junior editor's eyebrows sky high: "If you can't stand the heat, get out of my kitchen." That was Gordon Ramsay's signature bark from Hell's Kitchen Season 1, down to the clipped emphasis on "my." A quick side-by-side confirmed the nightmare. Identical challenges, identical camera whips, even the same slow-motion pan across sweating chefs. What Meghan's crew billed as a celebration of mindful cooking was scene for scene Ramsay in a pastel filter. By noon, the footage sat on the laptops of both Netflix co-CEOs. Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters jumped onto an emergency call that sources describe as short, loud, and full of expletives. Legal flagged blatant copyright exposure. Marketing warned of social media carnage the moment Food TV fans spotted the ripoff. Orders came fast: yank the entire segment, shred the script, reshoot everything partir, and this time, zero pre-written lines for Meghan to borrow. Editors compared it to rewiring a plane mid-flight. Meghan did not take the edict lightly. Insiders say she blasted the decision as creative censorship, insisting her charitable twist, having the winner cook for a fictional fundraiser, made the episode original. Netflix disagreed. The reshoot date was set, and a new rule surfaced: every future challenge would be improvised under the live supervision of a legal monitor. Cameras kept rolling, but trust had left the building. And yanking that one scene? It was only the appetizer, because the deeper the auditors dug, the more borrowed ingredients they uncovered. The reshoot clock was ticking, and Meghan felt it like heat lamps over day-old scallops. When Netflix stripped the script and ordered pure improvisation, she erupted on a Zoom call, calling the mandate creative sabotage and accusing execs of kneecapping the very show they green-lit. Crew on set later described the vibe as thermostat set to volcanic, tense silences punctuated by late-night tirades and last-minute scene demands. Legal monitors now hovered beside every camera rig, scanning dialogue in real time. Editors received daily hard drives labeled "Urush," clearance pending, and joked that each file felt like a dice roll with the Copyright Office. Behind them, cost overruns ballooned. Insiders estimate the unscheduled reshoots burned through millions in a single month. Morale cratered. 2-segment producers quit within a week. Background cooks stopped showing up after call times slipped to 3 a.m. One exhausted crew member told trade reporters the production felt like building IKEA furniture while the instructions keep changing languages. Yet Meghan doubled down. She demanded raw footage every night, insisting she could shape the story if editors would trust her instincts. But trust was in short supply. Netflix quietly reassigned senior producers, brought in a crisis showrunner, and put Meghan's creative veto on ice. She still starred in front of the lens, but every behind-the-scenes decision now passed through an executive firewall. Then came the pattern nobody could ignore. While lawyers dissected the cooking episode, separate teams unearthed earlier complaints. A shelved animated project, Pearl, alleged to mirror a British author's concept almost beat for beat. To shareholders, it looked less like one rogue mishap and more like a habit, and the board started whispering about exit strategies. The set kept rolling, but the energy shifted from creative buzz to survival mode. Cameras captured Meghan smiling through takes, but off-screen, whispers grew that she'd begun recording meetings on her phone, convinced producers were engineering a flop. And as the paranoia spiked and the budget bled, Netflix still had one more nightmare to contain: the moment Gordon Ramsay's fury spilled beyond closed-door calls and into the public arena. Netflix was already skating on thin ice long before Meghan's scallops started smelling fishy. A fresh round of price hikes had triggered an online pile-on. Angry tweets, down-thumbed Reddit threads, and opinion pieces all asked the same question: how much more can you squeeze from loyal subscribers? Inside earnings calls, the mood was split. Yes, the streamer still topped global sign-up charts in early 2025, but analysts warned that growth looked sugar-high fragile, one drawn-out scandal away from a churn spike. When the With Love, Meghan plagiarism probe landed on executive desks, it felt like the worst possible stress test. Shareholders pounced. Why was Netflix funneling 8-figure budgets into a show now slathered in legal red flags? A leaked memo revealed board members demanding line-item clarity on every dollar tied to Meghan's deal, hinting the once-celebrated partnership might not survive renewal talks this fall. Meanwhile, Netflix's in-house lawyers built a war room. They screened each episode for copy pastas, flagged even stray phrasing that echoed The Rachel Ray Show or Keeping Up with the Kardashians, then whispered the nightmare word investors dread, liability. With every fresh discovery, internal estimates of potential damages ticked upward like a faulty meter. Marketing felt the aftershocks first. Billboards were pulled, trailer drops went on hold. Influencer partnerships froze in mid-negotiation as sponsors balked at hitching brands to a plagiarism tornado. Morale plummeted across Los Gatos offices. One staffer quipped that the Meghan show had become our own fire festival, except we can't hide it on an island. Yet the loudest threat still simmered off stage. Gordon Ramsay's camp had stayed mostly quiet, publicly. Rumor had it his lawyers were gathering timestamps and transcripts, weighing whether to cook up a copyright suit big enough to scorch Netflix's bottom line. If that flame burst into open court, analysts warned, any illusion of brand invincibility could evaporate overnight. So when Ramsay finally broke his silence, Netflix braced for impact, because a furious celebrity chef with a global fan base is one PR kitchen you don't want to set ablaze. When word of the copy-paste cook-off finally reached Gordon Ramsay, the famously volcanic chef did not stay calm and carry on. According to industry tip sheets and a rash of viral YouTube breakdowns, Ramsay's lawyers fired an immediate explain or else letter to Netflix, complete with time-stamped side-by-side clips of his 2004 Hell's Kitchen pilot and Meghan's lifted showdown. Almost overnight, #Gordon vs. Meghan began trending across TikTok and X. Food TV fans flooded timelines with meme montages. Ramsay's trademark glare spliced next to Meghan's pastel smile, amassing millions of views and stoking calls for a full-blown lawsuit. Netflix's social team dashboard lit up bright red. Every royal romance promo tweet was now hijacked by scallop emojis and fire emoji chants of plagiarism. Behind closed doors, Ramsay's camp reportedly weighed two nuclear options: a copyright claim big enough to scorch Netflix's Q3 earnings, or an on-camera rant timed to premiere week. Either would torch the streamer's fragile goodwill. Executives begged for détente, promising to delete every contested frame and recut the show under round-the-clock legal supervision. Ramsay's final warning, relayed through a terse rep, steal a recipe, expect the heat, went public just as shareholder calls kicked off. Netflix stock dipped 2 points in pre-market trading. Analysts openly questioned why the platform had staked 9-figure budgets on a series now synonymous with copyright chaos. The message landed: this wasn't merely a royal misstep, it was a branding grenade. And while Meghan clung to creative control in reshoot purgatory, one chef's fury had done what subscriber hashtags and boardroom memos could not: force Netflix to confront the full flaming cost of its royal disruptor gamble. But even as Ramsay's legal pot boiled, Netflix faced an uglier reality, because their quiet exit strategy was about to collide with a storm of leaked memos and disappearing billboards that made the scandal impossible to hide. Netflix's leadership finally accepted what the crew had known for weeks: this show was unsavable. The order that floated down from the 5th-floor war room sounded simple: minimize exposure, maximize distance. In practice, it meant pulling every billboard draft, freezing the ad spend, and burying with love Meghan, Season 2 in a late-night slot no algorithm would spotlight. Gone were the splashy magazine covers and influencer tie-ins. The new marketing budget could barely buy a boosted tweet. Behind closed doors, lawyers stitched a parachute. One plan: label the reshot episodes a limited engagement. Drop them quietly, then let the tiles drift off the homepage within weeks. Another: whispered only to board members, cancel release entirely, eat the sunk cost, and pin the blame on creative differences. Both strategies hinged on a single goal: cut the bleeding without igniting a PR inferno. Contract analysts combed Meghan's Arkwell deal for escape hatches. Renewal clauses that once looked automatic now read like warning labels. If Netflix exercised an early termination fee, it would sting, but continuing to bankroll potential lawsuits could bleed far more. The board's unofficial odds of a third season pickup had plummeted from lock to snowball in July. On-set fallout grew uglier. Production leads, stripped of overtime budgets, began quitting mid-shoot. Cameras still rolled, but the footage was a patchwork of stand-ins and half-lit kitchens. Editors joked they needed miracle sauce, not color correction, to salvage a storyline. Meanwhile, Meghan tried to regain the narrative, requesting daily rough-cut screenings, drafting press statements herself, even floating the idea of a tell-all special about creative betrayal. No one bit. The final blow came when a confidential memo leaked, outlining Netflix's intention to reassign all Arkwell development funds pending further review. In plainer English, the royal partnership was on ice, and the freezer door was closing fast. With marketing silenced, crew thinned, and legal fees stacking up, the series that promised to reinvent Meghan's image was now being quietly hustled toward the exit, proof that even a $100 million crown can slip when the foundation cracks. But as the lights dimmed on set and the last reshoot wrapped, one question still hung in the air: would Netflix cut its losses completely, or let the show limp onto the platform and pray viewers never notice the stitches? Meghan's Netflix saga began as a $100 million power move, proof that a duchess could swap palace protocol for Hollywood clout. 5 years later, it's a headline generator for all the wrong reasons. Copy-and-paste cooking show segments lifted straight from Hell's Kitchen, a kids' project shelved amid claims it mirrored a British author's work, and a fresh wave of plagiarism rumors piling up on TikTok feeds faster than Netflix can issue takedowns. Each misstep has chipped at the streamer's already fragile goodwill in an era of relentless price hikes and subscriber fatigue. For Netflix, the cost isn't just legal fees or reshoot overruns, it's trust, with shareholders who question every nine-figure gamble, with creators who fear their originals will be drowned out by royal rewrites, and with viewers who can spot a lifted line before the end credits roll. Meghan's brand, once pitched as disruptively authentic, now risks becoming shorthand for borrowed glitz and backstage chaos. And that leaves one uncomfortable question lingering long after the final reshoot wraps: if even modern royalty can't play by Hollywood's rules without cutting corners, who, if anyone, gets to write the script in the streaming age?